I encourage you to communicate with whoever you can, and call the president, call your senators, call your congressman, write letters to the editor, tell your friends. Why isn't there a special counsel for Biden corruption? There has to be a special counsel. We've had story after story coming out in the media. First, the New York Times acknowledged 17 months after the fact that the Hunter Biden laptop emails were real emails. And it was Hunter Biden's laptop indeed. Now we've had the Washington Post confirm that the Hunter Biden emails are Hunter Biden's emails. And they've had his laptop for 9 months, and they finally get around to reporting it. And much of the reporting is based on either what Chuck Grassley found more recently or what others have already found and confirmed through the laptop. And in this case, the Washington Post highlights and focuses on Hunter Biden's interactions with the Chinese government, specifically a front for the Chinese government called CEFC China Energy. As the Post reports, have been previously reported the financial arrangement. But over the course of 14 months that began during Joe Biden's presidency, the Chinese energy conglomerate and its executives paid $4.8 million to entities controlled by Hunter Biden and his uncle. So Joe Biden's brother was taking a piece of the action here. So the outreach began while Vice President Biden was still in office, and the money came through shortly after he left office. The new documents include a signed copy of a $1 million legal retainer, emails related to the wire transfers, and $3.8 million in consulting fees that were confirmed in new bank records and agreements signed by Hunter Biden. And they illustrate the ways in which his family profited from relationships built over Joe Biden's decades in public service. So, why is this now being disclosed? I think it's, and I'm going to get into more details here, I think it's part of, there's this old phrase from the Watergate days, the modified limited hangout, which is to release information that is bad and may look Hunter Biden bad or James Biden bad, but is designed to actually protect Joe Biden. So when you read all these stories, they pretend in a dishonest fashion there's no evidence Joe Biden was involved in these business dealings. In fact, they quote the White House to that effect, when in fact there is evidence. There's emails talking about and documents talking about Hunter Biden complaining about how he has to give 50% of everything he brings in to his father. There's other notes and emails talking about 10% for the big guy, famously. And then you have one of the business partners, Mr. Bobulinski, said that of course Joe was involved. And you know, when you're talking about bribery schemes, and this is what this is, it's a bribery scheme. I mean, he met with this Chinese official, because so this major energy company essentially is a creature of the Chinese government. And that's just not me talking, that's the Washington Post confirming it. He meets shortly after this company official, this Chinese company official. Biden and he meet shortly after Biden leaves office, or Hunter Biden and the Chinese official meet shortly after Joe Biden leaves office. And this official sent a 2.8 carat diamond to Hunter at his hotel room. What is the purpose of that? Other than to be a bribe. And this, of course, had been already reported back in 2019, because I remember reading about it in the New Yorker. So the Washington Post, after Biden's in office, reports that his son is getting a nearly 3 carat diamond from a Chinese communist front, in addition to this nearly $5 million in transfers for he and his brother and his uncle, James Biden, Joe's brother. So this is a big deal, because these monies obviously are not licit given their nature and size. Why are they giving all this money to them? I've read through these materials. I've looked at the Washington Post reporting. There's really no business reason for doing so. There's obviously political reasons. They're taking care of Joe, or currying favor with Joe by bribing and providing illicit monies to his family members. And as I've talked about with Rudy Giuliani, who is an expert on RICO matters, because he was the U.S. attorney who famously used RICO in an aggressive way and is a national expert on it and against the mob. This is, he understands what bribery is and how, because he's prosecuted this. If you're a public official or a candidate, remember this business operation was occurring not only with the Chinese but the Burisma and others, and you're getting money from foreign companies that are affiliated with governments or have interests other than the national interests of the United States at heart. Why do you think that money's going into people close to a government official like Joe Biden? It's bribery. That's what the Clintons did. And Joe was doing it. So if you want to know, and one of the reasons why they stayed away from Hillary Clinton's pay-to-play scandal in terms of refusing to investigate it, is because Joe was doing the same thing. August 17th, there's a contract signed, stated that Hunter Biden would get a one-time retainer of $500,000 and would then receive a monthly stipend of $100,000, with his uncle James Biden getting $65,000. The money began flowing almost immediately, with the first incoming wire of $5 million in August of 2017. And they were going to set up this front here in the United States with this Chinese Communist company. And they went so far as to kind of set up an office scheme for that where they would have this business relationship. In the office, you had the Biden Foundation and this Chinese front company being in the same office, with Jill and Joe getting keys to the office. So don't tell me Joe wasn't involved in all of this. Again, all these records and pretty much all of this has been reported before. And what the Post is doing here is regurgitating previously reported material, further confirming other material, or further confirming it with documents given to it by Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson over in the Senate. Now, you may recall they were attacked for highlighting some of these improper foreign payments as being part of Russian disinformation. So was Chinese money to Hunter Biden part of a Russia disinformation program? Is that the way it works? And they're pretending, as I said, that Joe Biden is involved. And this is the other scandal. This is the kind of overarching scandal here, in the kind of the immediate overarching scandal. This is scandal within scandal within scandal, obviously, is the fact that Hunter Biden's under criminal investigation for all of this: Burisma, the China issue, and kind of related topics. And the question is, how is it the Garland Justice Department, how is it it's treating this like an ordinary case? Well, first of all, they've had this material, at least the laptop, since 2019. Now it's 2022, right? And there are special counsel regulations that are in place by the Justice Department so that when there can be a special counsel appointed when there's the appearance or an actual conflict of interest. How is this not a conflict of interest? To have the president's son, in the least, the target of an investigation. For criminal activity that implicates his father. So Judicial Watch has been pushing for a special counsel. I'm not a big fan of the special counsel operations in the Justice Department, but those are the rules. We were told they applied to Donald Trump and they appointed a special counsel, Robert Mueller, to harass him, even though there was no evidence of misconduct. And in this case, the president's son is under direct investigation. And still no special counsel. So that's why I talk about the modified limited hangout. They're saying, well, Biden's under investigation by a U.S. attorney in Delaware. And people have talked to grand juries and such. Well, my view is that's not appropriate. There needs to be a special counsel. And why isn't there one? The fact that one hasn't been appointed, and it's now year 2 of the Biden presidency, is a scandal in and of itself. The fact that the Republicans in the House and the Senate haven't made this an issue is a scandal in and of itself. The fact that Democrats refuse to address it is a scandal in and of itself. While Trump continues to be harassed by the same Justice Department and allied prosecutors and investigators for the left Democratic wing of the establishment. They protected Hillary. They were protecting Biden. They were protecting Obama, who was abusing his office to target Trump, while abusing, as I've highlighted, Trump. And if you want to know why Biden was why Trump was impeached not once but twice, it's because he was willing to talk about this corruption. Now, Judicial Watch has litigation about some of these issues under FOIA. And we're going to continue and probably file additional Freedom of Information Act lawsuits as well. But I encourage you to communicate with whoever you can. And, call the president, call your senators, call your congressman, write letters to the editor, tell your friends. Why isn't there a special counsel for Biden corruption? There has to be a special counsel. Now, Matt Gaetz, the Republican congressman from Florida, he tried to, and I think successfully did, he put all the contents, allegedly, of the Hunter Biden laptop on the record in the House. He wanted to put it into the congressional record. And I highlighted that that would be Exhibit A for any impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden. I'm highlighting the failures of the Justice Department to, I think, or the fact that we can't trust the Justice Department to fully investigate this as it ought to be done. And this is why you have this impeachment process as well to begin a full accounting for this. And you should be asking people running for office, where do they stand on this? I'm not naive. There's going to be no impeachment under this Congress. Will there be impeachment under the next Congress, even if it switches power? I don't know. Just don't presume because Republicans take over, there'll be accountability and justice. We've been down that path before. And as I've highlighted, this corruption is a national security issue. Like, for instance, was there classified information on Hunter Biden's laptop? I don't know. His father was vice president. He was communicating with his father about meetings with foreign nationals. I don't know what was going on there. Did they review it for classified information, the Justice Department? I don't know. They should. And as I've said before, we have a war in Ukraine that I think happened in part, not completely because of, but in part because people like Putin and his cronies in the Russian government saw that the Biden administration was run by individuals compromised, namely Joe Biden. Remember, his son Hunter had received $3.5 million from a Russian oligarch, or the widow of a Russian oligarch. I guess she kind of inherited the money. And Burisma, of course, was a Russia-leaning company. And it really doesn't matter one way or another, but they saw a president who was compromised. And of course, you saw all the Chinese money that was going their way. Just because the Washington Post is reporting it for the first time, it doesn't mean everyone else didn't know what was really going on. I'm sure you were aware of some of this, and you can bet Putin was. And so when he looks at the corruption in our country, as the gangster he is, he's like, well, I'm just going to do what I want to do here because these guys are, they're on the take. They know I know they're on the take, and they probably won't push back as much as they should. And I think many would criticize the Biden administration for not pushing back as they should have against Russia. And if it were Trump, everyone would be saying, well, it's because Trump was Putin's friend and Putin was colluding with him during the campaign, even though there was no evidence of that. That was a knowing lie and smear. But in this case, we've had these illicit transfers. That's why corruption matters. You don't want presidents credibly compromised. I mean, this is not a court of law. I'm not saying that President Biden did something that could be prosecuted. I think it's potential. But the point is, when you've got this evidence of corruption, it undermines confidence in our government, and it causes leaders in other countries to look at us askance. And it creates instability, and in the case of Putin invading Ukraine, I think it weakened our position vis-a-vis Russia. Of course, a few others will say it like that, but Judicial Watch is unafraid to tell the truth as it sees it. And of course, that's just my opinion, but I think it's borne out by reality.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.